Manifest your SP easier than first grade math. I am Neil Arthos. I am the next Abdullah, and you are the next Neville Goddard. Okay? So you want to manifest an SP. Maybe this is an ex who you're trying to get back. Maybe there's a hot girl at the gym or at the secretary office. Or maybe you want to bang your dentist. Who knows? We all have a crush. We all have that special someone, guy or girl. And we all put them on a pedestal and think that they're so out of reach. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to listen to the red pill. You don't have to look smacks. And if you have seen proof that you actually do have to do those things, well, then it's just simply that you created the reality where you have to follow those rules. But it's not because it's actually truth and that everybody, whenever they don't follow those rules, will have failure. Because we are all living in different realities. There's 8 trillion of us, which means there's 8 trillion different possibilities. So when manifesting an SP, okay, now we're going to look at it kind of like, for the example, like I always love to use, Sally at the gym, okay? Hot girl with the big ass, right? You put her on that big pedestal. Well, how about these apples? How about you start fucking putting yourself on the pedestal, my friend? Okay? You are God. You are the Lord. And no, I do not mean that you created Noah's Ark and the dinosaurs. What I simply mean is that whatever you create, whatever you destroy, you are in charge of your universe. You are in charge of your reality. Okay? I don't want to go too deep into this because I want to get straight to the, as they like to call it, meat and potatoes. But another way to look at it is you are an infinite being in a human experience. You are not the human being that rides the train every day to work, that is a fan of Miley Cyrus. You are not the mind. You are not the body. You are simply the observer of said mind and said body. Okay? So when you can actually realize that, you start to see that the same eyes that you perceive the girl with the big ass. Okay? Sally with the big ass, who doesn't even give you the light of day, actually isn't real. And that brings me to my next point. The current circumstances where Sally with the big ass is not texting you or hasn't given you any attention when you are staring at her all day when you're supposed to be working incline, those current circumstances are the ones you don't want, right? But there's another reality where Sally is texting you so much that you are considering a restraining order. Okay? Remember what I said, there is 8 trillion people, 8 trillion different realities. And to be honest, each and every 8 trillion of those people can shift to another set of realities. So technically, there's like quadrillions more realities, right? But the current circumstance that you are in where Sally is not giving you attention, that is not actually what is going on right now. What do I mean? It is simply something that actually exists in the past. Hold on, stay with me. The circumstance where Sally is not in a relationship with you that you see right now in the 3D is simply a reflection of your past assumptions. Now, let me break this down in more simpler terms, okay? How many times growing up did our mothers say, oh, you better not think that or else it's going to happen? How many times as kids did we think that the monster was going to get us? And sure enough, whether he actually physically came to her or not, something happened that we manifest to come true, right? Or when we grew up, how many times when we were in high school and we had a big test and we were so worried, you know what, we would even have imaginations like, oh, I can just see my mom taking away my TV because I know she's going to get mad when I fail my chemistry test. And because you just kept freaking out about it, sure enough, you fucking failed your chemistry test. And, you know, bye-bye even Stevens, right? Well, that's what I'm talking about, okay? They might not have manifested their parents yelling at them within seconds. They still have to take the test a few days later, but it eventually occurred. Or an even more popular example, how many times did we say, oh, this girlfriend of mine, she's so sweet, you know, she's so lovely. Hell, I was going to buy her flowers, but she fucking bought me flowers. This is too good to be true. Something must be off. I got to stalk her social media. Maybe she's talking to somebody. And lo and behold, you start getting clingy. You start double texting. And next thing you know, she's cheating on you. That's what I'm talking about past assumptions. So the current assumption where you see that Sally with the big ass is not talking to you, right? Well, first of all, okay, have you even asked her out? Okay, do you even know if she's gonna say no or yes? The simple fact that you haven't even had the balls to ask her out, you know, when God wants to see thunder, does he have to wait, for the deer to get out of the way until he finally can throw his lightning strikes? No. If he wants thunder, he goes for it, right? If you're God, your source, give yourself a chance, first of all. At least let her reject you, right? But you see, you are probably keeping yourself from approaching because you're afraid of rejection to begin with. Well, guess what? There is a very good chance that she will say no, but it's not because you are not hitting the incline enough. It's not because you didn't thread your eyebrows with, T. Chanley. It's because you created the reality where all you know is rejection. And it's based off of your past assumptions. So if on our way to work, we kept telling ourselves that our boss was going to yell at us, and sure enough, we got in trouble. And if we kept saying that we were going to fail that chemistry test, and lo and behold, we were grounded for life, then wouldn't the way to flip this on its ass is to create new assumptions? The answer is yes. And that's where the next part of this video comes in. Techniques. Okay? Manifesting an SP is simple. Okay? I remember there was a girl who I worked with a couple years ago. Okay? And you can go in and call HR. Sue me. She worked with me. Okay? And the moment she stepped foot in the corridors, you can tell that this was the girl that all the guys were drooling over. Okay? No matter if she was asking them, how to work the register, or she needed help to know where the to-go boxes were, these guys would make excuses to tell her about their day when she didn't even fucking ask. Spitting game, just throwing spaghetti at the wall here, right? And she was really attractive. And this was around the time that I just got into Neville Goddard, Law of Assumption. And even still, I didn't know much about visualizations or techniques or affirmations. But one thing I did know is that even at that time, I had confidence in myself. And all I did when I first saw her working with us was I simply said to myself, not even forcefully, not even, okay, today I'm going to say 10 times in myself, she loves me, she loves me, she loves me. No, I just sort of one moment when I saw her had a brief thought, and I just, not even consciously, I just felt, yeah, she's going to be mine someday. It wasn't even really, I don't even know if it was a thought. It felt like a fart that came out of my brain cells. It just was like, yeah, I got this in a bag. And the only other time that I remember doing a fucking technique was, believe it or not, one time I was in the shower, and again, she popped in my head, and I just had this visual of us making out in the storage room. And this was not from me having wishful thinking. This was kind of like, you know, when someone brings up, you know, like, I don't know, a little cousin, you know, at the barbecue, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, you remember Billy, right? He's like, oh yeah, that little booger, he owes me $5, you know, and you imagine him paying you the $5. Well, it was kind of like that, except, you know, I saw her so low on the level of, you know, importance that I didn't even think like, I hope that she will give me the time of day and I hope that she will choose me. I just sort of knew like, oh yeah, this is another girl who I'm gonna bang. Very fucking asshole-esque, to say the least. And that's how that visual came about. And after that, I wasn't doing any techniques. Again, I was not even trying. Fast forward to about a month later, and she and I start texting after so many initiated flirtations on her side. And next thing you know, we're hooking up outside of work. And all of this started from her, you know, touching my arm, you know, and then asking for my social media, and then saying stuff like, you know, I don't like when you talk to that other girl, it makes me jealous, even though she knew I didn't want anything serious. I didn't have to robotically affirm 20 times to get this girl, yet out of all the experiences with human resources, this was probably one of the top 5 pound for pounds. So, if it can be that easy, you technically don't need any affirmation list or any practice for visualizations. All you really got to do is to know. But again, if you're new to law of assumption, it won't be that easy right off the bat. But you can get there. And for me, when I started to try to manifest more difficult manifestations, the way I did affirmations was like this. I simply did not just say, oh yeah, I got her. Yeah, me and her are in a great loving relationship. Or, yeah, I'm banging the hot chick at work. No. I started saying stuff like, every single time that we make eye contact, SP wets her panties thinking about me. Everywhere I go, all the hot women lay the red carpet for me. I started saying stuff like that because, again, I spent a lot of my past manifesting bullshit from all the bullshit that I was telling myself. All I would do is see one person give me an ugly, dirty look, and all of a sudden I felt like I was the ugliest guy in the world. I would not consciously tell myself that, but that's all it would take, is one little gesture, one little face that a girl would look, where I would try to smile at her and she didn't smile back, and all of a sudden I felt like an ogre. And just because of that, I had 5 fucking months after that feeling like shit, not realizing that I was recycling assumptions that were only manifesting later. Because remember, these manifestations are not going to come right away. It's like when you order something on Amazon, okay? And maybe it's on back order and then it takes forever. And by the time it comes, you're like, oh shit, I forgot that I ordered that 2 months ago. Yeah. Well, the circumstances that you're seeing where Sally with the big ass is not giving you the light of day, you ordered that shit a while ago. And it's all these assumptions that you were telling yourself. But when you overload your mind with powerful, ridiculous, borderline narcissistic affirmations, that is one way to wake up your subconscious like crazy. Think of your subconscious, like a bear in hibernation. I mean, your subconscious is a heavy sleeper. It's already gotten bored with hearing all your negativity, that it's like, okay, yeah, we're done. I already got all the assumptions down. This guy hates himself. He thinks that he can barely pull a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I got it. Can I go back to bed now? The only way it's going to wake up is if a nuclear bomb hits. Well, these are the nuclear fucking bombs. Your SP has a life-size poster in their room where they worship and bow down to every single night. Your SP texts you so much that T-Mobile is pissed because it affects their 5G mobile towers. The more crazy, the more dumb, the more ridiculous and narcissistic you make them, better. Because otherwise, why the hell else are you going to be saying affirmations? You might as well go back to saying bullshit. Okay? Make them as powerful as fuck, because you have been putting yourself so low on your self-esteem that it's time to exalt yourself to the highest. Okay? Now, visualizations. I personally think that visualizations are not necessary, but a person who, in my opinion, has the best visualization techniques is a guy named Eric, whose YouTube channel goes by the name of The Power of I Am. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of his stuff. Now, a lot of his best visualization techniques, you have to buy a membership on his YouTube channel, but it is totally worth the money. I love his content, and I'm not going to be one of those manifestation coaches who says that his way is the only way and, you know, only sponsor his things over other people's. We are all one mind. We are all brothers and sisters, and I love all manifestation coaches. I love Eric, I love Zachary Hickory, I love Sammy Ingram, I love even this one guy who goes by the name of The Coldest. There's so many different voices out there, and there's one that's going to resonate with you, or several, right? I'm not going to be like these red pill nerds who says that their way is better than Corey Wayne's and, you know, only listen to alpha male strategies. No. Okay? At the end of the day, we all, as manifestation coaches, just want to see you manifest the reality of your dreams. Okay? Now, if I, you know, check out Eric's content, because I love his remote seduction, the Adonis technique. That, to me, is the type of stuff that I really think that when you are, quote unquote, and I'm going to be very careful what I'm about to say, when you're, quote unquote, waiting for your manifestation to materialize, those are the best techniques to where you can feel it right now in the waiting stages. But again, if you are technically aware of you waiting for something, you are already admitting that you don't have it. So that's why I put heavy quotations on that. Technically, I just blaspheme the manifestation there, but that's another video for another day. But if I could give my own 2 cents on a visualization technique, I've always said that when you say the craziest affirmations possible, where you exalt yourself, there's always going to be an image that pops up. All right. When I actually used the one of my SP carries, I don't know if I said this in this video, that my SP carries 5 pairs of panties to work every day because she has to keep going to the bathroom thinking about me, right? I remember there was a girl who I was affirming that with in my mind all the time whenever we would work together, and next thing you know, within a month, she started chasing me, and we ended up making out in the storage room. Yeah, I know. Okay, I work 70 hours a week. Okay, what is a guy gonna do? Okay, like, sue me. Okay, but either ways, when I would say that, there was automatically imagery that popped up. Okay, and some of it I don't want to go into because, you know, YouTube, right? But again, like I always say, if I had to put my 2 cents for visualizations, I would say they do not have to be in 8K 3D Blu-ray, you know, holographic IMAX. No. Okay? Don't make it any more complicated than it needs to be. But if you're one of those guys who actually wants to feel the arm hairs on your hairy girlfriend's, you know, forearm, and you want to smell the Dior Sauvage on your boyfriend, look, like I said, say an extreme affirmation, say that me and my SP are always going to our favorite spot in the park and we make sweet love even though we don't have tainted windows and the cops never come and find us, you know, or whatever. Or say that me and my SP are on a romantic honeymoon and we are so happy that we've been married for 10 years. You know, if you want to be less graphic, right? Well, whatever imagery pops up, what I would suggest is, if it's not clear enough, I would do it in bits and pieces. So let's say it's a blurry, let's use the honeymoon one, for example. And there's a blurry image of two people, you know, saluting the glass, and then there's a palm tree in the background, right? If that's the only image that can pop up, well, you know, kind of like those websites where there's, you know, a shitty image, but then they enhance it with some FBI technology or whatever, we'll just do that, okay? If you see blurriness, if you can't make out if, you know, you two are wearing the marriage rings or not, then just add a marriage ring. Put a new detail each time. Maybe one day you add more color to your SP's hand, and then tomorrow you add more color to your hand, and try to build the building blocks. Because either ways, like a lot of the Neville teachers say, keep going back to that scene. You know, that's one thing that I do love about most manifestation coaches. They never say, well, every day you better come up with a new scene or else it's not going to be fresh. No, it's best to keep it simple. Even with affirmations, it's best not to think that you have to come up with 20 different affirmations every hour. Have, you know, your own rotation that you go to, right? You know, for in case of emergencies. And when you keep going back to that scene where you guys are saluting the glass, like I said, add a new piece to the puzzle each day. Or if you want to, try to do that all in one session, whatever. And that's what makes it fun. And when you are adding more color to the hand of your SP, and then later on you're putting more leaves on the palm tree in the background of your honeymoon, it's like you're painting a picture, a love letter of imagery of the relationship with your SP. And it's romantic, it's beautiful, but yet you're doing it in your mind. You're doing it in your own kingdom. Right? So that is a little piece of advice that I would say for visualizations. But again, I wanted to make this video like 3 minutes, and it turned out to be another Avengers Endgame. So that's my cue, guys. I am Neil Lartos. This is all that the I Am Awareness had to say. I know you're going to be okay.